Hello guys, welcome in. Hello, Star. My chair is squeaky. Hello, Vala. Welcome in. I will explain everything here in a moment once the ads for Twitch finish up. Or start, actually, because they're not starting for some reason. There they go. There we go. So give it like 2 minutes and I'll explain what's going on. Hello, Ray. Welcome in. All right, so I want to give a small explanation. Today's stream is going to be fairly short. Hello, Country Shape. I am doing pretty well. Not because I want to do a short stream or anything like that. I just have a feeling I know how the stream is going to go. Let me explain. The game I am playing today is called The Beginner's Guide. Now, the reason I say short stream is because I've played this game before, back in November. And what you can see is my playtime is 85 minutes. It takes you 85 minutes to play this game, so about an hour and a half. This game... Hold on. This game is, made by the creator of the Stanley Parable. Davey Redden. Absolutely phenomenal game maker and storyteller. No, this... I remember playing this game when I first got it back in November. I can't believe it was that short of a time ago. It felt like a lot longer. But there was a video I came across recently that said, if you're struggling creatively, you want to play this game. Which, I'll be honest, I will not say that I haven't been struggling creatively. Let me turn this down, jeez. I'm not gonna say that I haven't been struggling creatively. I have been. I've been hitting a creative block for the past few months. But I'm also trying to go through and rebrand. I've mentioned this before. I'm planning on changing my stream name, username, all that sort of stuff. I'm planning on just like not completely getting rid of Echo Tide because I like the username, but it doesn't feel like a stream name. It feels like a gamer tag. But I don't have any ideas on names. So I wanted to play this because of those few reasons. Kind of creatively, I'm at a point where like, I'm not sure where I want to go. I just know that I want to keep going. So I'm going to be playing this. However, I also know that this game has a very hard-hitting story. Incredibly hard-hitting. Like, punch in the gut sort of hard-hitting. So, I am going to not plan on doing anything after this game. After I finish this game, I feel like I'm not going to want to play anything else. I feel like I'm just going to want to sit with my thoughts. So that's the plan. If I decide I want to keep going and I decide I want to play something else, I will. But I just have a feeling I know how it's going to go. So, shall we get started? I've talked enough. I need to wait for it to load for my to Oh. Hello? Oh no. There we go. Let me find it. Let me find it. Holy shit, that is a 100 stream watch streak. Thank you so much, Ray. My PC is not liking this. Yeah, kind of country shape. Oh, it crashed. We try again. I'm gonna let things play out. Okay, we made it to the main menu. It's up on stream. I'm not getting an encoding error. I think we're good to go. For the sake of it, I'll throw this on. Yep, that sounds good. That's fine. Just to see. Okay, no, we'll keep it at full screen. Oh, okay. All right, let's begin. Closed captionings are going to be on for people who might be struggling to read it or hear it, but audio is big point. I might need to turn it up on OBS. We'll have to see.
Hi there. Thank you very much for playing the Beginner's Guide. My name is Davey Reedon.
Yep, hold on.
Parable, and while that game tells a pretty absurd story, today I'm going to tell you about a series of events that happened between 2008 and 2011. We're going to look at the games made by a friend of mine named Coda. Now, these games mean a lot to me. I met Coda in early 2009 at a time when I was really struggling with some personal stuff, and his work pointed me in a very powerful direction. I found it to be a good reference point for the kinds of creative works that I wanted to make. So just to start you off, this is, I think, the first game he ever made. It's a level for Counter-Strike. You can walk around here, by the way. And mostly it's just Coda learning the basics of building a 3D environment. But what I like is that even though he starts from the simple aesthetic of a desert town, he then scatters these colorful abstract blobs and impossible floating crates around the level. And of course, it destroys the illusion that this actually is a desert town, and instead this level becomes a kind of calling card from its creator. It's like a reminder that this video game was constructed by a real person. And it kind of makes you wonder, what was going through his head as he was building this? This is what I like about all of Coda's games. I mean, not that they're all fascinating as games, but that they are all going to give us access to their creator. I want us to see past the games themselves. I want to get to know who this human being really is. And that's exactly what we're going to do here.
There's going to be a lot of this,
by the way. It's 2008, Coda starts making these games, and he never releases any of them. He doesn't put them onto the internet, he just makes them and then immediately abandons them, and they sit on his computer forever. And I think he really understood this image of himself as a recluse. At one point, he jokingly renamed his computer's recycling bin to Important Games Folder. So, this was just how he worked. He tended to crank them out one after the other without even really pausing to try to understand what he had just made, until suddenly one day, he just stopped. In 2011, that was it. He made his last game, and then he hasn't made another one since. And that's why I've taken this opportunity to gather all of his work together, is because I find his games powerful and interesting, and I'd like this collection to reach him, to maybe encourage him to start creating again. And if the people like you who play this also happen to find his work interesting, then I'm sure it'll just send that much stronger of a message of encouragement to Coda. So thanks for joining me on this. If you have a particular interpretation that I haven't mentioned here, or if you just need to get in touch, you can email me at daveywreden@gmail.com.
I'm just gonna forewarn people right now. This is a mature stream. This game hits some pretty dark points. I just want to preface this with that. I very much so want to preference this with this game gets dark for a while. Alright. Just big warning label right at the top of this. From what I remember, that I forgot about it until just now. This game gets dark. It hits mature themes. This is a mature stream, so it's fine. But just forewarning you, if this is not the sort of thing you want to see, I will be streaming tomorrow on Twitch.
Okay, that's about it for introduction. Let's take a look at Coda's first proper game. As each game is loading, I'll show you the date that it was completed. This first one was made in November 2008.
But yes, there's also going to be a lot of just Davey talking throughout this.
Warning. Whisper machine active. Shift destruction imminent.
This game is called Escape from Whisper, and it's one of the more generic games you'll see from Coda.
Security hull breached. Hostile alien life forms inbound.
It kinda looks like this game was abandoned mid-development. For instance, you have this gun, which you'd think would indicate that there are supposed to be monsters or enemies somewhere, but then clearly there are no enemies anywhere. You can't even reload the gun when you run out of bullets. But ultimately we don't really know. Maybe Coda thought that actually it was complete the way that it is. And I think that we should talk about his games for what they are, rather than for what they're not.
Enemy force neutralized. Begin ship evacuation.
I love how you can see the bottom of the universe from this room.
Yep, there's just... You can very much tell that this game and the Stanley Parable have the same style of storytelling because it's the same person who made them. Granted, there were more people that worked on them, but Davey Redden is the one who spearheaded both of them, I guess is the way to put it. But
apparently this space station has a labyrinth on it. Sure, I don't know. There's really no reason for it that I've ever been able to discern, so in the interest of time, I'm just gonna skip you on past it. Or, if you'd really like to solve the labyrinth, you're welcome to do that too.
I have not done this before. I have not gone backwards through the labyrinth. So I don't know if there's like some Easter egg for solving it. I may have made a mistake here. Oh man, you can tell that my game is starting to lag slightly from running everything at once. Oh, this was the start. Okay.
Okay, this is the part that's interesting. The game has this narrative about the whisper machine and how it has to be turned off, and then you get to the engine room.
Hey, you there, in the engine room. You could save us all. That beam is powering the whisper machine. We could disrupt it by introducing a great enough heat signature. If your body could stop the beam. It's so much to ask, but for all of our lives, would you do it? Could you give yourself?
Yeah, country shape it is. It's a very interesting concept. It makes for a great psychological horror.
Let me pause here for a second. What you just experienced, stepping into the beam and then dying, is probably what Coda had initially intended when he was developing this level. But when he first compiles and plays it, something goes wrong. There's a bug somewhere. And this is what happens instead. The beam causes you to start floating. And this is an important moment for him. Because yes, this is technically a glitch, but Coda identifies something human about it, like how small it makes you feel in the face of this larger chaotic system. Or this floating could be the afterlife, a peaceful place, juxtaposed against all of the hysteria that you've just had to traverse. I don't even know. I have no idea what he was thinking, but what's clear is that after making this, something lodges itself in his brain. He wants to do more of these really weird and experimental designs. So he stops work on this and moves on to a stream of tiny little games that go in all sorts of directions. Let's go ahead and take a look at the first game he made after leaving this one behind. Yep, in this game you can only walk backwards.
Yep, I'm pressing W right now.
So it's a
and
short
nothing's
and relatively minimalist experiment combining motion and narrative. It is less advanced than the previous game, but actually it seems to be more focused, more complete. Coda's trying to give it a unique voice rather than simply basing it on a pre-existing trope. It's a short little thought, it says what it wants to say, and then it ends. Didn't need anything more than that. Which to me is why it works, because it gets out quick. Okay, next one.
like I said, there's going to be a lot of this. There's not much room here for me to give input. But you can kind of see where I'm going when I say that I feel like I'm not going to want to play a different game after this.
And that's it. Okay, the meaning of this game won't be clear just yet. Please be patient with me for a few more games, and I promise you'll see what makes it interesting. Oftentimes, Coda would put bizarre titles like this one at the start of his games. I wish I'd known him at the time that he was making these early games. He would really only talk to me about his work as he was making it. Once he stopped work on a game, like, that was it. It was dead to him. And I don't agree with that at all, but what are you gonna do?
I'm just pressing down W.
Once you've been slowed to an absolute crawl, the door at the top of the stairs opens. So why, if Coda's not showing these games to anyone, why bother opening the door at all? Well, to show you, I'm modifying the game here so that when you press enter, it'll bring you back up to full speed so you can enter the door for yourself.
What if I don't want to? I'm gonna keep going at this pace just because I want to see what happens. Yeah, no, how are you guys doing? I will take this time to chat with you guys. Like, this game, it's not clear yet to you guys what this game is, like, leading towards. It just feels like it's a random sort of out-of-place thing. But, yeah. You're playing McMahon? Nice. It's going, yep, that's a mood. It goes. Okay, screw it.
A room that's warm and nice and filled with little ideas for games. Coda would often tell me that he didn't mind if people thought of him as cold or distant. He said that he knew that he was actually a vibrant and compassionate person, but that it takes time to really see that. It can be a very slow climb to get there.
Tier ones. Yeah.
Well, this is new for Coda. It's an actual puzzle. Go ahead and see if you can solve it. Don't forget that solution, because we're going to see this puzzle again soon. We're gonna see it a lot.
That's the idea for a short horror story about one person over the course of 7 days forced to watch as things disappear day by day. Stuff is happening, all aspirations. Yep. Yeah, no, that is... That is an idea. Just, like... I think the reason why horror tends to work as a genre, apart from the cheap jump scares, but like classic horror, non-jump scare horror, just classic horror, the reason it works is not because of the adrenaline rush, it's the feeling of powerlessness. That's what causes it. And so that would work as a horror story. But
So that seems to be it, right? You walk down a corridor, you solve the puzzle, you get to the end. Simple enough. All right, now I'm going to modify the game again so that when you press enter, it'll remove all of the walls from this room.
CO2, but it's really annoying. ZX. Ah, I see.
How about that? There was more to it than we had any way of knowing. I actually find it funny that this game comes after the Stairs game, since they essentially convey the opposite idea. So, in the Stairs game, a dull exterior concealed a rich interior. And then, in this level, a dull interior hides this fantastic outer world. Either way, I think that the point is the same, is that most of the time you don't get to know what you're missing, or even that you're missing anything. That's not your role as a player. So if your role here is not to understand, then what is it? Aha! So, this, combined with the entering game from earlier, tells us that Coda believes his games are connected somehow. It could even be that the Stairs game and the puzzle game are literally connected in between this and the entering game. There's a bigger picture that all of his games are meant to play a role in, some larger meaning that we won't be able to grasp until we've seen all of them. And once we have, we can step back and start to understand what exactly that bigger picture is.
Yeah, country shape. That is... It is interesting to think about. The great and lovely descent.
Let's talk about video game development for a second. Every video game runs on what's called an engine, which determines what the game can and cannot do. So in other words, the engine is a set of tools for game development. To make all of these games, Coda is using an engine called Source. Like all engines, Source has certain things that it does well, and it has certain things that it does poorly. One of the things that it does very well is boxy linear corridors. That's why so many of Coda's games are set in these large, flat, empty rooms, is just because he's working with what the engine does well. The tools available to the creator shape what kinds of creative work they're going to end up making. You might consider paying attention to the architecture in Coda's games, to notice how they seem to stem from an engine that's very good at producing linear, boxy corridors.
So, I know I can just jump straight down, right? Can just jump down. But, I very much so like parkouring in games, so I'm gonna jump down this way. But yeah, no, this... I'm sure you're all still quite confused. Shit. As to why exactly I'm playing this, but... there was at one point I very much so have been thinking about starting to make a game myself. I have no clue where to start. I have an idea in my head, but I don't know how to start making it. On top of the idea of, you know, just having a creative block recently, and this game being good for that.
This prison, funny enough, in Coda's original design, the doors stayed shut for a full hour before letting you go. If you don't mind, I think we're gonna skip that.
Full hour, huh? I could wait a full hour. I've got extra time. Nah, I feel like this is something that, like...
This is something that he and I used to argue about a lot. You know, whether a game ought to actually be playable, whether it means anything if no one can get through it. And I would always defend that, you know, all this work goes into the game, why not make it playable and accessible? And so we just got into heated arguments over it, and there was one time that after one of these conversations, he went home, and a day or two later, he sent me a zip file entitled Playable Games that was full of hundreds of individual games, each of which was just an empty box that you walked around in and nothing else. Believe me, I played every single one of those just to find out if there was like a gag hidden somewhere. There wasn't.
I want to touch on that idea quick. The idea of whether it needs to be playable to mean something. I do really want to touch on that, because that is such an odd idea that when you really get down to it, right? The in-playability can be the meaning of something. Like, there's this whole aspect of any of the creative medias. By the way, let me know if the game is too loud. I can't separate out the voice audio and the background audio, so it's very difficult for me to say, but it's one of those things, right? In any creative, intention of the artist is something that a lot of people try and point out. That tends to get lost. How feedback is the core of a video game? Yeah. That's actually something we're gonna get to eventually. If I remember correctly anyway. I very much so, hello Ocliam, by the way. With the intention of the artist, having a game be unplayable to prove a point is completing its job. It's doing exactly what it's meant to do. So, that whole argument of whether a game needs to be playable in order to mean something, that folder called Playable Games is proving that point. Alright. It's just proving that point. Just because it's playable doesn't mean it has any meaning. Just because it's unplayable doesn't mean it's void of meaning. Like, I'm trying to think. There was something, I don't remember what it was, that was legitimately just, you sat there It... Okay, so there is a world in VR chat called The Waiting Room. There's nothing for you to do in there. Things happen around you. It's not quote-unquote playable, but that doesn't mean it doesn't mean something. Some game devs just want to make a movie in the end. Not even necessarily. Let's take this room as an example. They literally said you got trapped in a cell for an hour before it let you out. That's not really a movie, because there's nothing happening. But at the same time, it's not a playable game. But it's not like it's void of meaning. It's the idea of, you know, like being trapped, right? That's kind of the whole point. It's the interactivity that makes a game different from a movie. And that interactivity allows different ways of telling a story. In a movie, you have to have some sort of plot. In a game, you don't. Because all of a sudden, you're now a character. You can feel things based off of what is happening to your character. As opposed to, in a movie, there needs to be something moving it along because you're not a character. That's the difference. So the whole argument that they had on whether a game needs to be playable in order to have meaning, I am on the side that it doesn't need to be. The implayability can add a meaning all of its own. And on the other side, the playable folders, it's the other way. Just because it's playable doesn't mean anything. Now, ads are going to start on Twitch, unfortunately, so I don't want to continue too far. But that was kind of the end of my point. So, unfortunate timing there. But, yeah, no, as someone who works in the creatives and has done stuff like that, it is all about the intent. Everything has intent. Everything. Even if you don't put something into that intent, it has intent. Yeah, no, exactly, Auckland. Games being good art, but quote-unquote bad games. That's exactly what they're touching on here. It's the idea of the games themselves are really good from the standpoint of being art, is the best way to put it. But the interactive nature of it is not great. Like, I'll be completely honest. 100%, as much as I love it, I feel like the Stanley Parable falls into that category. It's the journey, not the destination. How do you get there? It's always meaning behind it? Yeah. What is that, Oclium? Y-I-I-K? Yeah, no, that is one of those things where I will say, if I do decide, you know, so I have this game in mind, right? If I decide to kind of keep going down that path, I would want to make a game like this. Not the beginner's guide, but this specific aspect of it, where it is unplayable. There's nothing to play. But I want that to prove a point. Let me actually look that up real quick. I will say, it can also depend on, the best way I can put it, it can also depend on how it's done, right? Where something like this, right? It's done to make you it's done intentionally to make it feel specific. If the gameplay is bad, there are two categories it falls under. It just being a bad game, and the bad gameplay being a point of the game. Those are the two categories it can fall into. Sometimes a bad game just is a bad game, and there's nothing behind that. But if it's intentionally bad, that is where the difference lies. So there is a difference there. I'm not saying that it is every game that is unplayable doesn't mean it doesn't have meaning. I am saying that just because it can't be played properly doesn't mean it doesn't have meaning. It's not a all or nothing scenario. There are games that are just outright bad and unplayable, that are bad and unplayable because they were designed poorly. Then there's games that are unplayable and bad to play because that was the intention. That's where the difference is. So I would have to look more into that game in order to really see what that one is. But there's a difference between intention and just being bad design. Hello, Paris. Welcome in.
It's the puzzle again, with the exact same solution as the last time. There's still no clear indication of what makes this puzzle so special that Coda is going to return to it over and over. But I promise I'll share with you my interpretation very shortly.
Okay. Octave, that is a very imprecise question. And by that I mean, it depends. There is no single answer. Double X Gaming, I can't really say because I haven't been a game developer. So I can't answer that question. Because I'm in the same boat as you, I have no clue how to start either. If you do want a YouTube channel that does go under that game development kind of tag, Pirate Software. Go look at their stuff. They do a lot of game development things, among other things. But they're a game dev, and they are very much so very, like, they're helpful and supportive of new game devs. So, you know, I'd go to them because I have no experience with it. But yeah, no, intention impacting quality is, there's no one right answer for it, because it really depends on the intention, and it depends on how much it's implemented. So, okay, modern art is very... Bad game, but I think the journey... It's a bad game, but I think the journey was great in my opinion. Again, that's one that I don't know, so I can't really give an input on it, country shape. But modern art is very weird, because a lot of people will give intention where there isn't any. Like, you think the whole bucket, you swing a bucket over a canvas with a hole in the bottom and it just creates a pattern. Sure, it looks cool, but I personally don't see intention behind it. I don't see reason behind it. It's all just, you're letting whatever happens happen. I'm of that mindset. There's some interesting things. I'm not saying minimalism is bad. In fact, in some cases, the minimalism is very good, and it can really improve a piece. I feel like a lot of people take minimalism as an excuse to not do as much. That's my personal take on it. So I'm not gonna go after anyone for doing minimalist art saying you didn't try. But like, from what I've seen, a lot of minimalism is just lack of effort, I guess. Like, I'm not gonna look at just like someone taking a paintbrush and just like smacking a canvas saying, hey, look, I created art. I'm not gonna call that high quality myself, because they didn't put anything behind it. It's just whatever happened. As opposed to actually intentionally going in and being like, okay, I am doing this. I am doing this for this reason. So I would say that intention impacts quality a lot more than the actual work. However, that work and that intention needs to align. That's the big thing. Yeah, no, absolutely, Aklium. It is very, very interpretive. I mean, if you just look at... What's a good example? Fuck it, just look at Undertale. Right? You've got the genocide, the pacifist, and the neutral ending. Why? You can come to the conclusion that Toby Fox wanted to give people choices and have consequences for those choices. You could also come to the conclusion that they just wanted a hard and easy mode. Pacifist being considered easy because you get through it, and genocide being hard because you have to focus a lot on making sure you get everything. Alternatively, you could just say that he wanted to tell multiple different stories using the same characters. All these sorts of things, like, they could all be true. But it's entirely interpretation that's saying which one you think it is. But I will say, something like that, the implayability of a game, can be part of the intention and can be part of the meaning. But again, If the quality of the work is not in line with the intention of the work and the intention of the feeling, it'll feel discongruent and it will feel bad. You there, did you come from up
Coda
above?
begins using a kind of dialogue system that he fashioned out of the engine's chat capabilities. Use the 1, 2, 3 buttons on your keyboard to respond.
You there, did you come from up above? What was up there? Yes, there was a world stamped with whiteness. Yes, there was an enormous prison I spent hours in. Yes, there were these floating colored blocks. I'm saying 1. That's the world above. You've been there. Now this is important. Did you have to get through a puzzle with 2 doors and switches? Yes, I did. That was literally the last thing I did before coming here. No, I don't remember having to go through any puzzle. I prefer not to tell you. After all, we've only just met. I'm doing 3. What? But you don't understand. We're trapped here. That puzzle is our only escape. We need to get through it. You think you want to get through, but trust me, you don't. Let me describe it for you. Let me tell you all about what is over there. Alright, I will tell you how to solve it. Oh no, but I do. We do. We need to get there. Do you understand? It is the most important thing in this world. We have to escape this prison. There must be an ending. I promise you, there's nothing I want more. Hello, how did you get here? Was there a puzzle you had to pass through? Suggest you go and see the puzzle sometime. It's not meant to be solved, but you can sit in black space in the middle. Who are you? Just go hang out there in that blackness for a bit. You may not like it at first, but it'll grow on you, eventually.
And so we make one last descent down to the final floor of the level. It's a lamppost. Okay, I can't tell you quite why, but for some reason, Coda fixates on this lamppost. It's going to appear at the end of every single one of his games from here on out. I'll tell you what I think. I think that up to this point, you know, he's been making really strange and abstract games with no clear purpose, and maybe you can only float around in that headspace for so long. Because now he wants something to hold on to. He wants a reference point. He wants the work to be leading to something. He wants a destination, which is what this lamppost is. It's a destination. We're going to see it in the work as well. His games are just going to become a lot more cohesive, a lot more fully developed, with more of a clear idea behind them. And as we go, that idea will get clearer and clearer and clearer.
That's the idea, Akliam. That's the point. That's why this exists. This game is connected to the internet. As you walk around, you can leave notes. All notes you see are left by other players. Nice room. Not.
So first off, I'm sure you can deduce this, but this game is not connected to the internet. All of the notes that you're going to see have been written by Coda. This was actually the first game of his that I ever played. This was shortly after I met him at a weekend game jam in Sacramento, where I grew up. I saw him working on this very level, and it was just so different from anything that anyone else was doing. So right away I was like, I have to be friends with this person. In retrospect, I think I was probably a bit too pushy trying to get his attention. I was over-enthusiastic. But he was very gracious about it and very patient with me. And I cooled off eventually. Oh, feel free to skip over any of these notes if they're not doing anything for you. Nothing extra is going to happen if you read all of them. Either way, to me they convey a sense of loneliness. I see this person who's filled with thoughts and feelings and beliefs and has no way to express them except as scattered and unheard voices in a game that wasn't meant to be played. But it's ironic, isn't it? That in playing this game and seeing how alone Coda often felt, that we get to know him better and actually kind of connect with him. And I have to be honest with you, this idea is really seductive to me. That I could just play someone's game and see the voices in their head and get to know them better and have to do less of the messy in-person socializing. I could just get to know you through your work. I think this is why I always liked Coda's games so much, is because it felt like they let me have that connection. I felt as though he was inviting me personally into his world. And then I feel less lonely too.
But. Purpose to make you question the purpose of things by seeming to have no purpose. We'll get to that. That's all I will say. We will get to that. Yeah, there's a lot of these all over the place. So I'm just gonna kind of run by them. But yeah, no, the reason I'm playing this, the idea behind it is it's meant to really get you to think about all the ideas that you've had that you've never taken, and to make you look back and do something with them.
At the end of this level, we're going to see the puzzle again. And here, I'll tell you what I think the puzzle means. Each of these games represents an idea that was on Coda's mind at the time that he was making it. And the puzzle is a way of closing the door on a previous chapter of his life before moving on to the next one. In each of his games, after exploring a theme that, he might find difficult, Coda can then place this puzzle that he knows has a reliable solution, he understands exactly how it works, and so it gives him a simple mechanism for moving on. And because there's this dark area between the doors, a space between spaces, before you move on, you get to pause. Just for a moment, a few seconds to reflect on and let go of the events that led you here. To step back and connect the pieces together. To grasp at that elusive bigger picture. Okay, this one is tough. It's gonna kinda just spin its own wheels for a few minutes. Hang with it.
I don't have much to say at the moment, so apologies, but I don't have much I can add on. Can you kind of tell what I meant when I said that I feel like this game was going to make me not want to play a game right afterwards? Because I'm already starting to get into that sense of, like, disconnection, I guess. It's starting to make, at least me, just start thinking about shit. So I don't have much to talk about because it's all in my head.
See, like, this is it. The whole game. And there's nothing that's particularly interesting about it. You just walk to the end of a hallway. Except, for some reason, Coda gets really fixated on this prison that has all of this modern furniture. And I don't know why, but he decides he needs to revisit this prison. He's gonna start over, use the same assets, turn it into something else. Okay, cool. Here's version 2.
Giant hole in the ground. 10 stoves lined up against the wall. Put live Tesla coils in each corner. Tables were invented in 1935.
There's a bit more to this one, but still it's not really communicating anything. It's kind of just weird for weirdness' sake. So okay, he throws it out and starts over. This time he comes at the prison idea from a different direction.
Yeah, no, country shape. It's very weird because with streaming you're supposed to add on to the content. But for me, this is just me being in my own head at the moment. Click on the table. Photo frame. Floor lamp. Left side sofa. Shelves.
And of course, now the table is gone and you can't begin the chain of events to escape. Here's a version where there are no bars, but you can't actually get to the well. And then a version where the inside of the prison is the outside and the outside is the inside. Let me just blink you real quick through a few more of these. I mean, he really unloaded on this prison idea. There's nearly a dozen of them. Personally, I think it's awful to watch this, to see a person basically unraveling through their work. And for what? Like, at what point do you just go, maybe there are game ideas other than this prison that I could be working on? But Coda doesn't have that voice telling you to stop, that particular mechanism of defense against yourself. Without it, you just spiral. And so he keeps going and going and going and going and going, and then he hits on something. And he likes it. And that's it. He's done. He stops making prisons. This is the very last version of the prison game that he created, and the reason I think it works is that the prison is not actually in it.
Thought of an FPS where instead of guns you just throw things that you find laying around? Yeah. Yeah, no, there's... I'm pretty sure there's something like that. I feel like I remember that. I'm not sure though. Honestly, you love a lot of the artsy first person. Oh, yeah, no, I love artsy games. Absolutely love them. I did a whole stream about a year back at this point where I just played, like, surreal games. I might go back and revisit a couple of those. Hell, I might grab one after this today to play. Hello? Who is this? I'm the you. Hey, it's me. I'm you from after you escaped prison. You're me? So you were trapped in this prison too?
It's a conversation. And so this is what Coda wants, is to be able to talk to someone, to share what's on his mind, and to get some good advice from someone who knows. But the irony is that even in this scenario, you're still talking to yourself. You know, all of these games so far are Coda talking to himself.
Yeah, no, absolutely country shape. This is... This is something that, like, these are just all small little ideas and concepts that aren't quite fully fleshed out, but at the same time are full. Which is the whole point.
I can see why he considers this a fitting conclusion to the prison games. After all of the obsession and frustration, just to be told by someone you can trust that things are going to be okay. Wouldn't that be nice? So what would it look like if Coda wanted to make a game about talking to someone other than himself?
Oh, this part.
To me, this environment is meant to represent Coda's puzzle, with the two doors on either side and a dark transitional space between.
Well, my goodness, I'm glad as all heck that you showed up. Thought I might be having to clean this entire house all by myself. Right miserable that would have been. Everyone knows lonesome hands make a lousy home.
you'll notice that the quality of the art is a step up from previous games, including this new and improved chat system, which he started using from this point on. From here on out, he begins putting much more effort into the visual polish of his work, and this particular game took 2 months to create as a result.
The music here is awesome. Like, it really does kind of fit that vibe.
After the intense set of prison games, this house cleaning level almost feels like cleansing. It's the moment after a particularly difficult or traumatic experience where you just need to let it sit and digest inside of you, and eventually cohere into something meaningful. I know that Coda really liked this game. Of all of his work, actually, this was the only one that he called me up to ask me to come over and look at it. This was during a period of a few months where he was like grossly happy all the time, just walked around with a constant smile on his face.
I'm gonna pause here while an ad plays, so let me quickly run that. Oh. Hello? Oh no. There we go. Oh boy. Hold on, let me go into options, see if I can fix some of these settings a bit. Let's disable that. I have no clue what that's gonna do. There we go. That'll probably be much better. It won't look as good, but it'll probably help. But yeah, no, this game... I really don't know what to say about it. Like I said, I played it before, but... this is just one of those games, like... I'm speechless. Again. I played it on my own back then, and like, obviously I didn't have to talk or feel like I had to talk about it. But this game is just really good. That's all there is to it. There's not this huge weight put on you. You're just going through these motions where it's just you're following along in someone else's story. You're not... the weight of the world isn't on your shoulders. That's the best way to put it.
I'm glad he made this. I'm glad he found some peace. But, of course, it can't last. The music stops, your companion is gone, it's time to leave. The door at the top of the hill is now open as well. Again, you can't stay in the dark space for too long. You just can't. You have to keep moving. It's how you stay alive.
Yeah.
Which is the whole point of the puzzle doors, right? That sooner or later you have to pick up and move. I really thought that was the point of it.
I want to say we're about halfway done.
This one gets a bit goofy.
The text is moving to
About halfway through the game,
quick
the
to-
perspective shifts. And you play as the teacher. And suddenly, you discover that your teacher is just as bigoted and afraid as you are. Oh, and also you can move around the classroom now.
yeah. No,
I
this
felt
is
pretty hard for this one.
it's all
I feel like it's one of the most relatable experiences that
very
you have.
quick.
To assume that some other person is perfect and totally fulfilled in every way and completely miss all of the little flaws that make them painfully human. I think about this game a lot these days.
The text along the bottom was very quick. It was too quick for me to read out loud. But the idea was they were trying to teach perfection, and then you get into the teacher's point of view,
This
and
one took a lot longer
other
than all the
thoughts you
others
see
for Coda to make. It was 4
are
months
not.
between this and the last one. That's twice as long as it took him to make any other game before this. And it's not like it's particularly complex, so I remember I found that a little strange at the time.
in this scene you will be playing as me. We are at a gathering of professionals. First, you start out leaning against this wall. Good. Stay right there. Coming across this room, chair, is a professional photographer of animals. It is your dream to photograph animals professionally. This is your one chance to learn something from her, to gain something, to succeed. Go on, say something to her. Hello. Hello, that's it? That's not a conversation. You need to actually converse with her, be a human being. Do it again. Here are all my hopes and dreams. No, 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 that's not what I said to her at all. You're completely missing the tone of this conversation. I was reserved, but I knew what I wanted. I was confident. For some reason, it was just that one moment, but I was confident. Maybe it's that you need a better grasp of the setting. There were a lot of people around us. I'll give you some props to work with. These cones that bounce when you touch them will represent the people nearby. You must have worked really hard to get where you are. You're messing it all up again. They'll freak out if the conversation gets that personal that quickly. Do you not realize how important this was for me? I'll never get another opportunity like this again. Everything was riding on this. Try stepping back from the stage. Okay, yes, now this is working.
The game
This is
ends
what it
with
was
this
like.
eerie premonition of what's going to happen next in Coda's life. The solution to social anxiety, to fears of having to perform and having to chase success, the answer for Coda is to withdraw, to hide himself away. Which is what leads to scenarios like the stairs that slowed you down several games ago, where it just becomes harder and harder to access Coda's inner landscape because he keeps retreating. He just keeps backing away from possible connections to anyone other than himself. And to be honest, I didn't consider it very healthy when I first played this game. You know, it looked to me like he was trying to justify the idea of just disconnecting yourself from the world. And that wasn't what I wanted for him or for his games. Because I feel like a lot of his games are inviting me to connect with this person, to bring him closer. But what can you do? After this, Coda went off and took another 5 months to make a new game.
Mobius strip. To play this game properly, you must keep your eyes closed. Click to begin this game. So, we're starting to get into that dark themes that I mentioned earlier. So I'm going to give another warning. This game hits very mature topics, very dark topics, very deep and depressing ideas. If that is not what you want to look at and watch, please keep that in mind going forward, whether you watch the stream or not. I will be streaming tomorrow on Twitch and Friday on both again. So, just once again, a warning, this gets dark. So, you hold down the button. When you let go of the button, this is what happens. You see this.
You should probably open your eyes if you haven't already. It's pretty much impossible to solve otherwise. And there is a solution, by the way.
Yes, that's it. That's the truth.
Like I said, I was getting concerned. First off, He's never been this explicit in his work about exactly what he's thinking. So where's that coming from? But then even weirder, his work has potentially stopped being an outlet for him. Not like he's having trouble iterating on ideas, but he literally just can't think of new ideas anymore. And in person, he was being a lot more distant than usual. Like, you know how sometimes a person will just deflect anything that you say in order to keep themselves disconnected all the time? It was that kind of thing. Here was the point in my relationship with Coda where I really started to wonder if he needed my help in some way. His games are going to get more desperate from here on out. After this game, it's almost 6 months before he finishes something new.
You can kind of see right now what it's leading to. The two options. There was a machine that kept me going and it stopped, and I'm trying to find this engine that used to protect me to start it again. Do you remember, right at the start, not the first game, not the one map, the space station, you had to shut down the engine. It's starting to connect.
If the last game featured Coda talking explicitly about his creative frustrations, this one turns it up to 11. Now, put yourself in my shoes playing this. Here's a friend whose work is exhibiting signs of struggle, frustration, anxiety, depression, even. And yet, still, he keeps making games. He keeps throwing himself into the grinder even when he clearly doesn't have the energy for it anymore. Why? What is it for? Because from my perspective at the time, and just what I knew of him, this was a result of how isolated he was. He was in his own little bubble, just sitting at his computer all day, not really showing these games to anyone, not releasing them onto the internet, and so he didn't have anyone outside of himself to connect with. He had no outlet to ground himself on. You can't talk yourself out of loneliness. It doesn't work that way. You can't be the one writing both the questions and the answers. Then there's no movement. Then there's no circulation. If all of your anxieties are being channeled into your work, then if the work ever fails, you have no backup and you're just going to crash. Seeing this game at the time that he made it, it looked really unhealthy to me. I was watching him do this to himself, and I hated it. I hated seeing him so proud. It's like video games are not worth this amount of suffering. This is someone I really cared about, and I used to get so much joy out of seeing him create. For him to suddenly become angry and frustrated like this, it was the worst thing for me. I don't know. This is what I felt at the time. I don't know how else to explain it. I wanted it to stop more than anything. I had never felt so rotten. I needed more than I had ever needed anything for this to stop.
Combux working with the human mind, emotions, and experiences of a person are always hard-hitting themes. Yep. And that's exactly what this does really well.
But it didn't stop. After finishing this one, Coda takes another 7 months and comes up with a new game.
I'm glad to see you arrive safely. You've captured the machine. It's waiting for you now. You can begin the interrogation whenever you like. Very good. Just be warned that someone called the press, so we might have a bit of attention on this one. So one more thing you should know about the machine. It calls itself Coda.
And of course, it's the machine.
You stopped. Your work was keeping us alive. It was only because of your creations that any of us could make it through every day. You have to admit to the people that you allowed them to suffer. I have seen the thing you fear. Alright then, I will speak to them for you. My friends, it falls on me to deliver bad news. The machine will not apologize to us. We will find a way to live without it. We do not need its games. Let us show it that we are not failures. Follow me, we will destroy the machine.
So now the work is becoming self-destructive. And I'll tell you, at the time that I first played this game, shortly after he made it, here's what I'm thinking to myself. I'm thinking that Code is stuck in his own head, and that it's having a very negative effect on him, and that all he needs to do is just start showing his work to people, to get some actual feedback on his games. It might get him out of isolation. And so, as I'm thinking this, I realized that I could be the one to initiate it. Because it would never occur to Coda to start actively soliciting feedback, so what if I did it for him? If he could see the difference it would make to have more actual conversations with other human beings, would that bring him out of his mental spiral? Would it give him confidence in himself? Would it bring meaning back into his work? So I started showing Coda's work to people. I took this one, and the islands which you just played, the theater, the notes, the house cleaning game, and some of the prison escape games. I brought them to people that I knew and trusted. I asked their opinions. And the great part is that they really loved his games. You know, the point of it all was just to give him some external reference point, but they genuinely loved his work. There was nothing for him to be afraid of.
Put down your weapon. I'm not doing anything right now. Oh, I guess I have to. Just...
Can you see why I felt like this was the right thing to do? Because it's the thing that I always feel like I need, to be told that my work is good, that I am good. When someone really connects with a thing that I've made, when they see themselves purely in my work, there's nothing that feels better.
I can't control where I'm looking.
I got to give that very same feeling to my friend. I did something... I really felt like I'd done something good, like I was a good person. I felt like there was a friend who was in trouble and was unhappy and maybe didn't like themselves, and I could fix it. If I could give him this gift, maybe I could fix the problem. When they told me how much they enjoyed his games, it was the best feeling. It was the absolute best feeling. It made me feel so happy. So beautifully, beautifully happy. So anyway, Coda finishes this game, and then really he just kind of takes off for a while. So this is June of 2011, and I didn't hear anything from him for several weeks, I guess. And so out of nowhere, one day I get an email, and it's got a private link to a new game of Coda's. This one is called The Tower, and to my knowledge, it's the last game that Coda ever made. So let's take a look.
Yeah, country shape, exactly. It is very deep hitting because it very much so touches on exactly everything that we are as people.
And this is where I have trouble saying anything meaningful about Coda's work. Because more than anything else, the tower just feels distant. It feels like it's trying to distance itself from the world. It's a very cold game. This room actually has a maze in it. Except that all the walls of the maze are invisible. And then every time you touch one of the walls, there's this awful flashing and noise, so the experience is really miserable. The game goes beyond not being meant to be played, it actually seems to despise the player for trying to play it at all. But I do want to show you the rest of the level, so when you're ready to continue, press enter and I'll put a bridge over the maze.
Epilepsy warning, post. I'm sorry if something happened. I completely forgot about that. I'm not gonna try again. But just, I guess, from here on out, be careful. If you have epilepsy, just... I don't know, be wary. I don't think
And to be
there's
fair,
more,
it's
but
not like this is the first game that's needed some modification to be playable. Like the house cleaning game. You know, that one used to actually loop the cleaning chores and you just cleaned a house forever. I had to cut it off so that you could exit the house and the game would actually end. But that game had an idea that it was actually trying to communicate. What's the deeper idea behind the invisible maze?
and now you're starting to see the truth behind it.
The only way past this challenge is to randomly guess the 6-digit code. Like the invisible maze, it's frustrating to me, because it's the opposite of everything else that Coda has made. It doesn't encourage thought or engagement. It doesn't ask anything of me, except a lot of my time. If I could have reached him during this time, then maybe I could have asked him, but I couldn't. I still don't really understand why this is here. I'll put the code on the ground for you here, though, so that we can move on. The switch to open this door is actually on the other side of the door, meaning that it's literally impossible to solve from this side. So even if you somehow brute forced your way through the first 2 challenges and you got to this point, there's actually just no way to progress. And it's scary for me, the idea of Coda cutting himself off entirely, just saying, you know, that's it, that's the end of the conversation, not giving me any way to fix the problem. I feel like a failure, I guess, when I can't fix the problem. But I can open this door for you, so let me do that.
Are you starting to see now? This game isn't about Coda at all.
Was I a failure for not understanding this game? I mean, I don't know why I would be. It's not like everything needs to have a solution, but I feel it somehow. I feel like I failed, and I don't understand why. I remember, it's June of 2011. I'm playing this for the very first time, and as I'm playing, I'm thinking to myself, I don't know this person. I have no idea who this person is. It wasn't the guy I knew, it wasn't my friend. I had come to so many conclusions from looking at all of his work up to this point, and then suddenly none of them... I had been trying to, though. That was the thing. For years I was trying to get to know him, to understand who he actually was and what he stood for. I asked him so many times to please just tell me what his games mean to him. I asked him please to tell me what the 3 dots mean. And he wouldn't.
In case you missed it, I didn't focus on it because I forgot that they were brought up. In every last one of the games, just about, there were 3 dots and a triangle. Just on the walls in different places. I don't know if you caught any of them, but they were there.
I just felt so strongly that if I could have connected with him, that if I could have somehow made his work my own, that I would finally be once and for all happy. It was that I needed to see myself in someone else. I needed to be someone other than me. But he stopped and left, and it felt somehow like I had failed.
Okay, before that continues, I am going to quickly do a thing. Yeah, there we go. Giving myself more time before the ads start. Oh. Where am I? Ah, there we go.
Where did I screw up? I'm the reason that you stopped making games, aren't I? It's because of what I did. I poisoned it for you. I don't think I ever told you this, but when I took your work and I was showing it to people, it actually felt... it felt as though I were responsible for something important and valuable. And the people who played them, they treated me like I was important. They really listened and cared about what I had to say. Even though I was showing your work, I felt good about myself. Finally. For a moment, while I had that, I liked myself.
There were never lampposts. You know, that thing that tied all the games together? They were never really there.
And then you stopped, and I didn't have anything left to show people. I just had to be with myself. And as soon as that happened, there was no feeling at all. Nothing. Less than nothing. What does that mean? I'm afraid that I did something really stupid because I don't like myself. That's why I'm releasing this collection of your work. Is because I haven't been able to find any other way to reach you. I've tried everything. And so a part of me has hope that if I put this compilation out into the world, and if I put my name on it, that maybe enough people will play it so that it'll find its way to you, so that I can tell you that I'm sorry. I know I screwed up. If I apologize to you truly and deeply, will you start making games again? Please. I need to feel okay with myself again. And I always felt okay as long as I had your work to see myself in. I mean, is something wrong with me? Because I know that I did an awful thing, and I'm doing it again right now. Like, I'm showing people your work, but I can't stop myself from doing it. That's how badly I need to feel something again, like I'm an addict. There has to be something wrong with me. Can I apologize? What if I tell you I was wrong? Will that work? Will that fix it? I don't know. I don't think it will, but there's nothing else that I can do. Just tell me what you want. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Please, start making games again. Please help me. Please give me some of whatever it is that makes you complete. I want whatever that wholeness is that you just summoned out of nothing and you put into your work. You were complete in some way that I never was. And I want to know I want to know how to be a good person. I want to know how not to hate myself. Please. I'm fading, and all I want is to know that I'm going to be okay. more love, more praise, more people telling me that I'm good. Always more, more, more. It's like a disease.
Alright, Vala, take care.
Solution, solution, solution. I guess if someone had told me ahead of time that he just really enjoyed making prison games, maybe I wouldn't have thought he was so desperate. I wouldn't have told so many people that he was depressed. Maybe he just likes making prisons. Even now, the disease is telling me to stop. Don't show people what a shitty person you are. They'll hate you. If I knew that my life depended on finding something to be driven by other than validation, what would that even be? It's strange, but the thought of not being driven by external validation is unthinkable. Like, I actually cannot conceive of what that would be like.
Yep, Aquium, you hit the nail right on the head.
What now? I think I need to go. And I'm sorry, because I know that I said that I would be here and I would walk you through this, but I'm starting to feel like I have a lot of work to do. I have a lot that I need to make up for, and so I'm just gonna... Okay.
Turn back from this cave. You said, let me prove that I'm brave, let me keep going. But the cave goes for miles and miles and miles, and you're so tired, but I know that you're strong, so turn back, turn back.
You see what I mean? Hello, SV, by the way. This experience delves so much deeper than game design. Probably YouTube autoplay, if I had to guess. SV. Welcome in, though. This game yeah. There's not much to say. And I think trying to explain it undermines the ultimate meaning of what this game is about. Right? The whole point. Stop trying to find hidden meanings. Stop trying to delve deeper than you need to. Stop trying to make something out of nothing. Stop trying to give purpose to something that doesn't need it. That's what this is trying to say. And just by giving this deeper underlying emotion, meaning, you're meant to feel it, not say it. The whole point of this is to get you to feel. So there's nothing I can really say here. Nothing I can really do to close this out. Unfortunate Blue. Yes, you are. We just finished this up. So when I say that I don't know what to say about this, I don't mean I don't have the words. I mean that the words don't exist. Didn't felt to be truly understood. Exactly. You can't explain this feeling. The words don't exist. But it's there. And you're meant to feel it. I feel like... Yeah, and that's completely fair, Oclium. Having very different takeaways, like... That was the important thing, right? Is that you don't want to impart meaning on something and take it as that being the real version of it. Because after all, the lampposts were never there. I think it would be remiss for me to play a different game after this. I don't think it would be fair to this game or whatever other game I play to just move on here. The thing is, though, right? If we actually sit and think and try and delve into this game, was Coda ever real? Was Coda an actual person? Or was it a character to try and have this basis on? Was this a true story? Or was it made up to get us to feel something? If you haven't already, pick up this game. This is one of those games that, like, you can watch playthrough after playthrough after playthrough of this game. But until you play it yourself, you will never truly get the importance of it. Because all throughout this playthrough, right, I was talking about my thoughts on what was happening. I was talking about how I felt storytelling should be. And how everything was in relation to itself. I started those trains of thought. When you play this on your own, you will think differently. I know that when I played this back in November, so not even a year ago, I got something completely different out of it. So if you have not already, pick up the game, play it for yourself. It is worth it. So anyway, I don't think it would be fair for me to do anything else today. It's a short stream today. I think it's time for me to head out. I've got some thinking to do. And I'm sure most of you do too. So thank you. Check out. Yeah, no, absolutely. This is the beginner's guide. It's on Steam. I don't know how much offhand. Let me check real quick. It is $10 on Steam. Everything Unlimited, LTD. Made by Davey Reedon, same person who made the Stanley Parable. Go get it for yourself. It is absolutely phenomenal. So with that, thank you everybody so much for coming by. Welcome back, Bala. I'm going to be ending today. This is too deep to really give anything else justice for today. Thank you everybody so much for watching. Hope you all have a wonderful time zone.
Drink water, you dehydrated bitch!
Make sure you take care of yourself, drink some water, get some rest, all that good stuff. And I'll see you next time.